Hello, my name is Seth Kautz, and I will be doing my presentation on the boycott of Stoli Vodka in 2013 and the SPI group. I cannot put my presentation in present mode, or I will get no color. Alright, let's do this. So the first question we are asked to answer is identify the issues that faced the managers of Stoli USA and the SPI group. Mainly, the main problem they had to deal with was that the conclusions were drawn for them. They were not a Russian-owned company, and they didn't distill or make anything in Russia, yet some people on social media made it out like they were a Russian company that stood with the Russian government. However, this was not true, as you can see in the second point. One of their largest markets that they marketed to was the LGBTQ community, or just a more liberal community in general. So they ended up losing a huge supporter, their primary market. They also took huge losses from distributors, wholesalers, and any market stakeholder, which we will go over that in 1 second. The next question that we are asked to identify is the stakeholders. So the market stakeholders were mainly anybody who was looking to sell Stoli vodka. This is liquor stores, restaurants, nightclubs, bars, anybody who sold it. Distributors and wholesalers were also affected, obviously, and Stoli has had a somewhat small connection to the Russian government for a long period of time. In the early 2000s or the early 1990s, there was a lot of back and forth between the Russian government and SPI group that it should be owned and operated as a Russian-owned company, but that has not happened. The next question we are asked to identify is, should Stoli USA and SPI Group, Stoli Vodka in general, be a Russian brand? The first thing you think of when you think of any company is where it originated from and not necessarily where it's made. If you think of any car company that's made in the US, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Buick, Cadillac, GMC, anything like that, unfortunately, they're not made in the US like you would think. A lot of the parts, a lot of the labor is outsourced because it's cheaper, and that's what companies look for, but people automatically think I'm buying an American truck. So I believe Stoli should be the same because they were founded in the Soviet Union, and then the Soviet Union obviously fell apart. Latvia became its own country. They produce all of their stuff, distill everything through Latvia. I do think it should primarily be a Russian company, but I don't think that they should be put in the same sentence as the government. Next question we are asked to answer is social media's impact on Stoli. This was their biggest problem by far. It took almost overnight for somebody to see dump Stoli, and people hung on to it for a long period of time. This was a huge problem. It made it very easy for people to join together and decide that Stoli was no longer a company that they wanted to be associated with. And another thing was they didn't have a lot of time to respond before this post went viral. They made a very lengthy post after, which is what we'll go over next. The restoration of the brand. They drew attention mainly on the fact that they weren't Russian owned. They don't distill in Russia. They don't produce in Russia. All the stuff they do is in Latvia. They also began trying to market even harder towards the LGBTQ community and the liberal community, because that was the main market that they had already gained so much reputation with and then had lost. They tried to get it back. All of this was through a large, almost press conference-like situation. They also began reaching out on social media to people who had dumped Stoli vodka in the sense of posting about the company and the downfall and why you shouldn't be buying Stoli vodka, as well as certain programs, which was outreach programs and mainly social media. Overall, I don't agree with the Stoli boycott at all. If you look at the man who started the boycott, he tried to boycott the Olympics earlier before Stoli, and that didn't work, obviously, because it's the Olympics. So now, or then, he just tried to boycott a Russian company. And obviously, they aren't Russian, they have nothing to do with it. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed.